Wow.
Okay, there we are. For some
All
reason,
right.
it did something stupid.
Yeah, it did. Well, here we are.
I'm not understanding the problem. So, see if I can. Doc, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. You're loud and clear. Keep talking. Let's go. I don't think you can hear anything, so we'll just have to.
You sound like a robot. You literally sound like a robot.
Really? I don't know. How about now?
Okay, let's try that.
Can you hear me? Yeah? Is it working?
Doc, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I can't hear you though. Somehow nothing's coming through from your side.
All right, it looks like he's gone.
Oh, well.
It's all
All
good.
right.
He probably needed to reboot. He wasn't hearing me, so give him a minute. But the topic today is about sleep, right, Dr. Chiu?
Yes, it's all right. It's about sleep. And boy, are there many things that can cause you to lose sleep. Such as our technical difficulties in life. Right? Right?
Especially our technical difficulties.
That's right.
Can you hear me? Daniel, if you can hear me, take your audio off of Bluetooth. You cannot have your audio on Bluetooth.
My phone is like acting stupid. Do you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you perfectly.
It sounds like you're in like a box. It's like automated. It doesn't sound good.
Restart your phone. Like restart your. Get out the broadcast and restart. Yeah, he's gonna have to restart.
This is how people lose sleep. From this point onwards, this is how you lose sleep. You see, you either overthink or you've been like, you go through some shock, and then from that point onwards, you're thinking about it over again. You're looping. Fortunately for me, I don't loop anymore. I used to, but I don't loop.
No, Daniel, can you hear us?
This is way.
Daniel, can you hear us?
It still sounds like you're in a box. Hold on.
Yeah, he just needs to like restart.
No, we talked about this to make sure he doesn't get himself in a tizzy, right? And it is one, do not do this in the car. Do not do this in the car, right? If you do this in the car, cars move, right? And now you're not supposed to text in the car, but can you broadcast live from your car? There should be a law against that, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty hard.
Here we go. Here we go. This is another one. Can you hear us?
Nothing.
No. Okay. But this is perfect, actually.
I don't know what's going on with my phone, but you sound like you're talking through
I'm sure.
a voice box.
I am absolutely sure. But you sound good here. You can't use your Bluetooth from your car. No. Car? No.
We're gonna
Do not be driving. Be driving, right? If you're driving, and then you do this, do not do this, right? With your car, right? I think that allowed us to use the language, the sign language, to do this. Everybody who's listening to this and watching, I'm like in a fishbowl, but I'll tell you this, because I'm okay. You don't have no idea what I've gone through. I've seen people, I've seen cases, and so this doesn't faze me at all, right? But I can tell you, do not be doing that do not be setting your life up for a massive amount of failure. Now, no matter what the failure point is, right? Don't do that.
Right.
Don't not study for a test. What do you think is going to happen, right?
You're going to
and
fail.
don't partially, right? And then the problem is there are people who study for tests, and then they're not studying for a written test. They're studying for, and they're not studying for an oral test. They're studying for a multiple choice. Let me pick a lottery ticket test, right? And that is a setup for failure, right? Because what if the teacher were to give you a harder test? Right? That will set you up for failure.
Right.
Now, on the other side, let's put our brain inside of his mind, right? We're going to put it in his mind. He must be thinking, like, how come these people don't understand what's going on, right? How come they're not thinking, like, what he's coming and doing this, right? How it could affect sleep. Now, this is perfect. All I need is that. I can deal with that. I can deal with it because we're going to put our minds inside his head. He probably thinks there's nothing wrong, right? He's probably thinks there's nothing wrong. But there is from this side,
well, I
right?
think he knows there's something's wrong,
but how much does he know? Like, what percentage does he know? Do you know the video I did with John Hollis, right? That you saw, that only certain friends saw. It's not public yet. It's not massive open. It's a locked link. Here is a man who has the antibodies, who's been checked by the BBC. He has the antibodies to resist all kinds of COVID. All kinds of COVID. I wanted to ask him, are you resistant to AIDS? You said you only got up to 15 minutes, so you probably didn't get to that part.
No, I haven't gotten up to that part yet.
Here, here's a little bit of a teaser in there. I asked him, are you resistant to AIDS? And he's not resistant to AIDS. Okay, that's good, right? So he's not truly like, he has his kryptonite, all right? So we all have our kryptonite. No matter how great we are, we have our kryptonite. You know?
Can you explain to the audience really quick who John Hollis is?
Yes.
The individual that you just interviewed yesterday, correct?
Yeah, that was yesterday. Yeah, was it yesterday? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, either it's a little fuzzy now that you asked me. It was this week, all right? But I got so many things going on. John Hollis is a black man who caught COVID, got sick. Barely, basically, and then they checked his blood. The government checked his blood, and found that he's resistant to all kinds. This is a check by a government lab, Dr. Leota, down in George Mason University, and we found that his blood is completely completely resistant to all forms of COVID to this date. Now there's new forms coming, but so far he's been resistant since March of last year. 2020, since March, and he's at 100% resistance since that point in time, according to the interview with John Hollis. Now, I wanted to know, John, what his life was like. Was he what was his life like? He thinks it's normal. From John's mindset, I ate regular food, I did regular things. I found out that John, in that interview, which I will eventually publicly post, I'm just giving it to my Facebook crowd first, that John has the ability to heal faster than other kids. When he was in high school, when he was in grammar school, he healed faster. He also didn't get sick very much. It didn't run in his entire family. John has an older brother who didn't get sick very much, but his younger brother had asthma, he was overweight. John shares that. And so these are indications. When you ask a person a question, you should ask them. And I asked him a question like, do you have O negative blood? I asked him what blood type you have. I didn't want to give him any leader question. He said he has O negative. That means, you know what that means? If this were like Van Helsing, right? A Van Helsing, and vampire story. Mm-hmm. If he took a drop of his blood and gave it to you, right? You might be resistant, right, to all forms of COVID. That was in the second part, right? It was an hour long, so you got 15 minutes. That means you didn't even go through, The
It's
first,
still a lot. I
yeah,
haven't even
yeah.
heard half.
Oh yeah, right. Well, when you listen to this, you dive in because I'm asking these questions, and when you ask questions, you want to ask the right questions. I ask questions that BBC did not ask. What blood type do you have? Are you single? Right? Are you single? I focused in on he is single. He's a single Christian man who's really good. And if you're single out there, right, and you want to be resistant, right? I mean, you can just date him for one night and and bite him. It's like if you bite him, right? If you bite him, you suddenly become resistant. I mean, wow, it's like.
Please don't go around saying Mr. Hollis.
I mean, could you imagine? Like, I told him, like, why are you walking around? You should be knighted. You should be protected. You should be an endangered species. That's what it was, right?
He was on NBC too, right? He was on
NBC.
Of, major networks.
Yeah, and he told what he said on the show. You got to watch this thing because he says.
I'm still
now after the show, after the 1 hour, because 1 hour you cut it off. After 1 hour, he said that he received some emails from other listeners who are black. African American, saying that he should not be helping the white man. He should not be helping the white man. He should not be helping the white man.
It's a lot of yeah.
Really? That happens? It must go deep, right? It must go deep. It must be deep, right?
It's a lot of trauma in the black community.
They were traumatized. I mean, fact, they were traumatized. They were truly traumatized.
Yeah.
Do you know the speculum when you go to see a gynecologist? That speculum was created using female slaves.
I know.
Yeah. Now he's texting us saying that my phone sounds like you are a robot.
Yes. And he literally called me and told me the same thing. It's all good.
Because in his mind, right? In his mind, he's done nothing wrong. He's done nothing wrong. So you see, this is really good for the audience to see it. He thinks that he's fine. Do you know, like, when you can't sleep, right?
Might be lack of sleep, too.
It might be a lack of sleep. It might be too much sleep. It might be the wrong kind of sleep. It might be sleeping with the enemy. Sometimes you've messed up so much that you've now created a monster of a relationship because you've now made the enemy out of your spouse or your loved one. And that definitely affects sleep. So we have one life to live. We don't want to mess up. How can we not mess up what we do, right? It's to take our brain and our minds and put it in place to the other side, the other person. And as long as you can be considerate, that's what they call being considerate. But if you can role play, and then be in someone else's mindset, then you'll appear to be considerate, even though you weren't thinking that way. You can train yourself to be more considerate, is what is going on. So when I look at what happened, right, we should set some rules. We should never be in a moving object when we're doing these types of things. We should probably do one time where I am doing this, and then I let everybody see, oh my gosh, he's not with us. So it's really, really important to always be very, very focused. When you're trying to sleep, you should try to sleep. Now, there are things that will prevent you from sleeping well, even if you try your best. Why? Because it's a chemical. There are certain chemicals that will do this. One chemical that I'll just go into tonight, it's called monosodium glutamate, MSG. It is an excitatory stimulant. It will cause you to be nervous. Now, when you're younger, you can tolerate it. You can kind of control it. Maybe because you're so stimulated anyway by your hormones and other things like that. But as you get older, you really can feel the effects of MSG. I was just sharing with the audience that MSG, Ebony, causes you to not be able to sleep. Like, you could do all the right things, but if you had MSG 5 to 6 hours before you go to sleep, you have lunch or dinner with MSG, right? Right. Then as you get older, it really takes its toll on you.
Wow.
And there's a whole study on this. There's a whole study. It causes you to snore more. It causes you to be not sleep well. So we're just talking about going to sleep first, and the chemicals that you could take on. And I just mentioned one chemical, which is a monosodium glutamate. Now you can anti that chemical by taking something called GABA. You can also increase the magnesium in your body to help you relax. You ever go into a spa where you have those magnesium Epsom salt soaks? Magnesium sulfate is what you would soak with, but you wouldn't want to ingest that because magnesium sulfate is actually pretty bitter, and it tastes nasty, and you're not supposed to. It'll give you the runs in the bathroom. You should not take magnesium sulfate. Now they do make magnesium that you take, magnesium citrate, milk of magnesia. Right, milk of magnesia, magnesium oxide. Those are classically used, but they also give you the runs. Your citrate is better than oxide for the runs, diarrhea, and then there's also magnesium glycinate, which affects the brain. It helps you relax. Now, this morning when I did the show in Hong Kong, it was about sleeping beauty. Like, how can you sleep and yield beauty, right? How can you also be beautiful? You can sleep and you can sleep and grow old. After you sleep, you know what I'm talking about?
No, but is it like the harm, like more sleep? Like if you get way too much sleep?
You could take a way too much, or you could take the normal amount, or you could have not enough. Just going to sleep, you could actually age by not having the right nutrients.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you don't have the right nutrients, what is the right nutrient? Do you know? If the government were to pass out money, okay? Now what happens? People grab it, right? People grab it. Right. Now, not everybody go. Like if they dropped $100 per family, but they dropped out in the street, not everybody's going to go and take more than their share. Not everybody. But there are some people who do that. Do you know that human cells act the same way? Yeah, human cells act the same way. Right? So when you take a nutrient into your body, where are you going to take it? Through your mouth? You could take it through your veins.
Your pores.
Through your pores, right? You could do that. Mm-hmm. You could put it, you wouldn't put it through your ear, right? People shouldn't do that. But people do take it rectally, right? People have done that, right? So there are these types of supplementation. But there is a grab for these nutrients, and it may not get to your heart, it may not get to your liver, it may not get to in its form that you need it to get to. So after it's been done grabbing and whatever's left over, it'll keep bypassing. The liver typically gets all the junk, right? So when nobody wants it anymore, it's used as a detox. So when you start thinking about character, every part of your body is has its characteristics. And why is bile green when you look at anatomy textbook green? And when you think about someone who's starting to get older and their liver's toxic, they're angrier. And you think of angry and green, you think about the Incredible Hulk. You see, there's a synergy into the colors and also the history, right?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if you don't take care of your liver, you are going to be an angrier person. If you don't have a good liver, if your liver health isn't good, you're just going to be angrier about things. Now, of course, some things can be so overpowering that they offset you, and you're just very, 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 very vile, right? You're just very green. But if you can, when you sing those songs, when we're talking about using music to affect, using guided imagery to heal certain parts, if you don't want to age too quickly, you got to have the right nutrients. You got to have magnesium. You got to have different forms of the magnesium, the citrate, the oxide, the glycinate, all there so that whatever the body needs, whatever cell you have in your body that has it, as you're taking the supplement, it's also in those forms so the body can grab them. If it's not in those forms, it'll just kill off some other cell to grab it. And that happens more often than not while you're sleeping, because the body will go into a state of repair, right? When you're sleeping. Makes sense, right? It's all logical. But when it's repairing, like, you ever see some people go to sleep and when they really first fall asleep, they're in the deep sleep, so that when you push them, you try to wake them, they're not. They're totally
out,
right? Yeah. And you have kids. You had kids before, so you saw them growing up. You saw how they were like totally zonked. And then you can also get yourself into a state of sleep where you can hear things. You can hear things, and you remember those things. And as the brain's developing, right, it's strange. Like some things just stick, and other things you don't know what happens. But sleep is something that doesn't have to be a mystery. You have to think logically that the body is going into a state of repair. You have to give it the proper nutrients. Now you also have to make sure that before you go into sleep, you have good thoughts. Through the ears, you're getting good thoughts. And how do you put good thoughts? It's if you don't wait till night to think through like all the things that happen during the day. Do it during the day. Do it during the day. The problem is that some of us are so overworked, or mentally in a job where we're just constantly being worked, and we're fulfilling other people's demands, that by the time we go to sleep, it's like you might want to think about your own things. And classic things of people losing sleep is when they get a new job offer. They're thinking, they're racing. When they go on a new date, they're thinking, they're racing, right? And they can't stop thinking about that other person or that situation, right?
Right.
And then there's also the trauma of not being able to sleep, where bad things happen, and then they just like they can't get it out of their mind, like a song, right? And so that's why when the research I found that when you use vibrato, and it's not a popular way of singing anymore, when you use vibrato in your own voice, you can actually cause the healing effects to take place. And it's deep. It's very, very powerful. And that's why, I had wanted to highlight a song like You Raise Me Up. Now, You Raise Me Up, it's like very interesting because it says, when I am down and oh my soul so weary. So you gotta say it to yourself first, not in the sense that you're going to just go ahead and just sing it like an entertainment piece. You gotta think about, all right, when were you down, and when was your soul so weary?
It has to be authentic. Like you have to
right.
feel
It has
it.
to be authentic. And somehow people who are churchgoers, oftentimes they know what I'm saying because it's part of the curriculum, right? When you're in church, and then you're thinking about what the song says. Not every church does it, but some churches do. And then the second line is, when troubles come, and my heart burdened be. Your heart is burdened. Right. Then is like then what's next, right? Then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come. Now the you is capitalized. Until you come and sit a while with me. And so when you take that, who's going to do that? Who is going to be able to come and sit a while with you, right? Who's going to do that, right? But if you find that person, that's a keeper, right? That's a keeper. When they take their time and spend it with you, right? And you learn to become still and wait here in silence. But what if you don't have that yet? Start imagining, all right, cellularly, you have different parts. Imagine your heart or your liver is now going to be supported by the other cells, the blood cells from your body, and coming there and nourishing it, soaking it, sitting a while with me. Right now you have more of a guided imagery, right?
Right.
So now when you use the vibrato, right? And I oftentimes suggest people use a device like this. This is called a Volodyne, and you use a Volodyne device. Yeah. And then what you do is you breathe often in this, and you hold it in, and you let it out, and you breathe it in again, and you let it out, right? Slowly, all right? After you've done that as a practice, then you can use the vibrato. I'm going to speak with vibrato. Now, as I keep speaking, right, I can apply the vibrato. So then the vibrations will go inside the body, right? So here it goes. When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come, my heart's burden be. then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. Now, I mean, again, this is not for entertainment purposes,
Right.
but it is,
For
as you do
healing
this, yeah, you could actually feel what it is. Now, why you should find a singing coach is it actually makes a difference when you do and sit a while, or when you say, and come and sit a while with me, like whole notes, right? So we oftentimes when we sing this stuff, we're not using whole notes. We're just saying, oh, sit a while with me, right? Until you come and sit a while. Now, you wouldn't sing certain songs like that, right? You know, a lot of songs that we sing today are like when we're speaking, right? We sing it like we're speaking it. We're talking to someone. But if it was something that was very spiritual, you wouldn't, almost like Hallelujah. Hallelujah, you wouldn't sing it like, oh, Hallelujah? Hallelujah. Right? You wouldn't do that, right? It would just be weird in a sense if you were like, oh yeah, Hallelujah. It's like, how are you? Hallelujah, right? You wouldn't do that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So,
More meaning,
you know,
more emphasis.
yeah, in a sense, you're singing to when you're saying Hallelujah, right? You are saying it to God, right? So you're saying it to God. So you wouldn't be like, oh, let me just talk to God like you're like any. So that song Hallelujah, only in the chorus part you would sing Hallelujah, right? Hallelujah. You would actually use like you're praising, right? You're doing it as a praise thing versus, and Ave Maria is the same way, all right? You have the praise, but I'm talking about when you're communicating with yourselves, you have to blend something that is not like you're just talking to it, but at a deeper level, and that's where the vibrato comes in to help. And there's an entire very detailed paper on doing this. There's tremendous amounts of research that my student did. Her name is Shannon Gallagher. She actually ran through this, and for her assignment, she and I met when she was more in a 10th grader, 9th grader type of level mindset, and she's now grown up. I think she's going to go to incredible places. Shannon Gallagher. She rocked the national exam called the ACT. She got perfect scores on those sections, but she went and did the research. I want to make sure I give her credit. She went and did the research for the vocal music and sounds across all kinds of medical databases on how it changes your ability to even be mentally sound. When you get older and you're inside of a nursing home or you're alone, right? Sing. But don't sing it as entertainment, sing it as healing. So when we apply this, again, after we spoke through it, it's like, is there another way to say, when I am down, and oh, my soul so weary, when troubles come, and my heart burdened be, then I am still, and wait here in the silence, that's your liver, right? Until you come, that's your red blood cells, and soak with me, right? And sit a while with me. And that is, when you start doing things like that, right? And you do it for yourself, right? This is free. You do it for yourself.
Right.
It affects healing. And it has to be your voice because your cells are listening to, why do you think all the creatures sing? Like, why do you birds sing and things like that? Exactly. And chirp, right? They're healing themselves too, right? They're just, like, it's a natural thing. But you know how unnatural it is for an Asian to sing? This tonight is unnatural, right? This is unnatural. Right? Yeah. Right? Yeah, and I'm a horrible singer, in the sense I have no, I don't have any training or anything like that. Yeah, so I would probably be the bottom of the top. But where we talk about healing, right? It's healing. In fact, I have a singing teacher. A professor actually. She went to the Berklee School of Music. Her name is Winnie. These are real people, and I said to Wendy, if we do these songs, I gotta be prepped because you can't I can't even do this in the shower, right? If I do this in the shower, we got a problem, right?
Sure.
Well, I got the worst of it. I'm a scientist. Scientists don't sing. Doctors don't sing, right? They don't usually sing, right? Although I met some doctors who are poets. A poet doctor.
We've had some doctors that are actors and actresses.
Yes, right? In the second life, right? But I wanted to be open here tonight because I wanted you guys to see, if I can do it, right? If I can do it for you, you can do it for yourself, right? You can do it for yourself, and that's why the whole thing is called the Secret Chord, because you should try to find a musical piece for the different situations in your life and take certain lyrics and lines and try to make some imagery and meaning to it. Not just sing it as it is. You say, well, where's the meaning? Apply it to your anatomy, apply it to your condition, and as you apply better healing, the better your liver is, the better you can sleep.
Yeah.
Because your ability to tolerate and go through a situation is really truly dependent on your resources, and how well you sleep depends on how well you harness the resources. So kids who have very good livers, right? You're born perfect, right? You're born optimal, and then you dive, right? Because you do stuff to yourself and say, oh yeah, I can do a little bit. I can hurt myself a little bit more. I can go off the track. This is called going off the yellow brick road, right? So as sometimes when you're telling yourself, right, to be healthy, right, and to do the right things and to eat organic and to avoid pesticides, even if you're not going to eat organic, avoid pesticides, grow your own food if you think it's expensive out there, follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road, right? So you're following what road? You're following the road of health, right? And so you got to follow, right? Now, that's not very, it's not very, I guess it's too Broadway or too, but there are things that have, I'm pulling up some songs here that will, that we can just kind of look at. Moon River is an example, right? So Moon River, you're not. You see, Moon River. I'm going to read the phrases here. Moon River wider than a mile. What do you think that is? What do you think Moon River?
You said
right?
What is it?
What do you think Moon River wider than a mile? What do you think the song Moon River means? Now it was sang by Audrey Hepburn.
Sings Moon. Yeah, I've never heard that song. Maybe I have. I just don't
You probably have. Yeah. So I'll read a couple of lines so you can see what it says. Moon River, wider than a mile. Wider than a mile. I am crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker. Wherever you're going, I am going your way. So, what do you think it's about, right?
Yeah.
Moon River.
Yeah.
Right, it's very strange. I mean, what do you mean Moon River? But people, when they write songs, all right, if they don't write it in these, if they're not like Edgar Allan Poe, right, if you're not a poet, it's too plain. So back then, people wrote certain things, and even today, they write things in, you have to understand what they mean. But what do you think it means if you're going to cross it in style, and you might be a dream maker, or you might be a heartbreaker? They're actually saying life. Life, the river of life, right? So it goes like this. Moon River, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. So it's kind of like that, right? So then how do you do it, right? So that was a song, that was the sound of how it is, right? So you're supposed to do this. Now, you use your roll dime. You get your vocals ready, right? And you go, Moon River, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. So you're thinking about every like artery and vein inside your body, and you're thinking, all right, you could be my dream maker, keep the blood pumping, right? Or you could be my heartbreaker, because if you pop, right, we're dead, all of us, right? So right, so you can talk to yourself, and you can say Moon River, focus Moon River wider than a mile, because this is the entire body. If we looked at every cell and we mapped it out, we took our large intestines and we laid it out, it could go on for miles and miles. So you could be thinking like, now if you're having constipation, you could be thinking about Moon River wider than a mile, my intestines are wider. I'm crossing Yoon style someday, right? I'm going through this, right? I'm your food, I'm your substance. Dream maker or you heartbreaker, because I need to be out of here. I need to be off this toilet seat, but you could be my heartbreaker, because I am always on this toilet seat, and you think, all right, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. I am subject to you, because if you're not done yet, you're not done yet, right? Okay, so then the second part of this is two drifters off to see the world. So it could be you and your cells, right? You and your cells, you and your brain cells. There's such a lot of world to see, obviously, because your brain is going to learn and it's going to create all these memories. Right. We are after the same rainbow's end. We have the same goals. That's what it means. We have the same goals. Waiting around the bend, you're my huckleberry friend, Moon River and me. All right, so watch what happens. I'll use the Volodine again. All right, so we'll do this. Oh, look at that. You see that? It went all the way to 5,000. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I'll do it again. Watch this.
Oh.
Yeah, well, it went up to 2,500. So it went up, right? So it went up, and it's like, here we go. Two drifters off to see the world. There's such a lot of world to see. We're after the same rainbow's end, my huckleberry friend, Moon River and me. So you're talking, you're making the imagery, and you see how when I went into the song, right?
Yes.
I started to change, because it's obvious I'm not a singer. So what happens is, when I start doing this, I'm not doing it as entertainment for the public, right? I could be in this fishbowl, and I am doing it to communicate with my cells.
Right.
That's the one thing you do, and I try to avoid thinking about this publicly. I'm really focused on, because this is more of a teaching video now, of how I can apply this so that I can heal my life. I can try to. Now, have you seen people doing opera shows and their hands get all sweaty and all that, and they have a towel, right?
Yes.
Okay.
My cousin is an opera singer.
Okay, do you know what happened just now? Okay, so I have my hands right here. Do you see how it's like wet?
Yes.
You see that? Okay, it's wet, right? Both hands are wet. No, both hands are wet, and it is because I was really into this. Now, that's a workout. You know how many calories you burn from doing this? People have looked at, when they sing, they lose weight. But they lose it in the right places. Do you know, if you lose it in the wrong places... I had an interview with a guy who... and his name is Edward Chin. We had this interview only a few weeks ago, and he talked about how he wakes up in the middle of the night and has to urinate. But he's a very popular individual. He's done a lot of videos. He's also done a video where he did a weight loss, and he lost a lot of pounds, double digits, right? He lost a lot of pounds, and that caused his bladder to get affected, right? He doesn't quite know that, because we didn't have time to actually dive in. We were just talking about how sleep affects him. I've been doing sleep on my 7th episode in Asia. and he had a situation, and now he wakes up and urinates at night. So sometimes when you do something to your body, right, if you're going to heal that particular area, you need to like talk to it.
Yeah.
Right? These cells are working for you, but they've never heard you. They've never heard you in their entire existence.
Right. Yeah.
And
like
then
directly to them, like they
to the cell.
Right.
Now, when I was doing this, I only penetrated, and I said the liver. I focused on the liver. When I said the blood vessels, I focused on. But I did not get to the cellular level. I was just talking with the organ, like the whole thing.
Right.
But if I wanted to talk to the cellular level, how do you do that? Well, you got to do it with greater intensity. You got to do it with more repetition, because it's okay. I hear you now. If we were praying to God for some assistance, if your friend called you every time they had a problem and needed your help, but then other than that, they never call you. Next time you call them, you might not be like, what? This is this person again? I know exactly what they're going to do, right? They're going to call me because it hurts here or I got a problem there. Stop doing that, right? You want to talk to God when there are no problems.
Right.
And then when there are problems, don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. It's like, because you don't think God is going to send help down. You don't think God knows this? All right, what do you think God is, right? So it's like, all right, if you believe, right, you should not be doing this. You should not be making the phone calls and jamming up the thing with pain and that type of thing. So now carry that. Now that makes sense, right? As a believer, that makes sense to you. Imagine when you sing to your liver. When are you going to sing to your liver? Well, when my liver is hurting. When my liver's sick. When I have a stomach ache, I'm going to sing to my stomach. You know what's going to happen from people? This show tonight, they're gonna love this, because if they listen to the very end, they'll realize that you're supposed to do this when you're healthy, right? Yeah, you do this when you're healthy, because that means that you won't be getting sick. Things won't be dysfunctional. The fruit of health, and the mirror of that would be the fruit of sickness, the fruit of disease. Disease is a fruit. You create it. You create your disease. You create your dis-ease. Why are you not at ease? You created it. You let it get into your life. If you can separate yourself from, your ego and all those other things, and say, that person cut me in line. They already cut you in line. It's already done. Don't throw another $1,000 after it. Now, what do I mean by $1,000? 1,000 minutes, right? Let's just turn minutes into dollars, right? And we correlate that, all right? 1,000 minutes, right? That's too much, actually. We should use seconds, right? Because $1,000 is equal to 1,000 seconds. You shouldn't even spend 1,000 seconds. They just cut you in line. Why would you go and give them another 1,000 seconds? There's 60 seconds in a minute, right? Why would you do that? I'm going to do that calculation right now. We're going to take 1,000, right? And we're going to divide that by 60. That's 16 minutes. You shouldn't spend 16 minutes on that crisis, right? You shouldn't, right? But yet we do. We do. And did you notice what happened when my co-host wasn't on here, right? What did I do? I talked about it. I compartmentalized it. I put it in a box, right? And then and I made it go away. Right? It's a box now. It's called Daniel, and Daniel's in the box, right? And I'm not going to let Daniel come out of the box. He's not coming out of the box, right? And he's not supposed to do his call on the car. He's not supposed to do this, but he did it anyway, right? And that's why we actually removed the wig, because we want to just start over and say, because I don't normally have all my wigs. I had my wig because of an incident, and that's how I started getting the wig on. And then, well,
the incident happened?
Like people cutting you in line, right? People cutting you in line. I had an incident, right? Let me tell you what the incident is, because I think it would be good. I was offered $2 million, okay? $2 million to sell all of my Facebook, Instagram, everything, right, to some other party. Okay?
Wow.
And so, would you do it? Right? Would you do it? And they didn't even want the United States. They just wanted Asia. They just wanted Asia. Wow. Yeah. So would you sell it? Right now, I went and evaluated this, I couldn't sleep for nights actually because I was thinking about this, what it would mean and what would we get. I could buy you like so much dinner, right? I mean, it's like, it would just be like, right? Now, I said no. And they turned into a monster. So then I went on the show that I normally do, and I put on this wig. I said, you should all leave.
Right.
I am Dr. Crazy. Dr. Crazy was born out of that situation, right?
From that. Wow.
And I'm telling you, I am human too, just like John Hollis can get AIDS, right? Even though he's resistant to COVID, I can get hurt too. And I'm sorry that I hurt myself because sometimes, in that situation, I was sleeping and I was trembling. It was just like, really, and my wife saved me because she said, I have a piece of your reputation too. So it's not like, it's not like you own you share everything. She shares in who I am, right? My image outside. And she says, you should ask me if I want to sell you, right? And I said, "What do you want to sell me?" And she said, "No, I don't want to sell you. You're worth more than $2 million." And that's how it triggered us. But then the other side turned into a monster, and they tried to shut me down.
Wow.
Yeah, they tried to shut me down in the sense that I made newspaper headlines and other things like that, right? Wow. But they didn't mention my name. They just mentioned that there's this so and so. But because I know who I am, it was like awful. But that was several months ago. And then it kind of affected this show because I was going to put on the Dr. Crazy. But because tonight we're a new start, we're a new beginning, I had to carry this. We carried this together, right, Ebony? Didn't you?
Yeah.
Right? Can you look at the clock now? It's 9:50. I mean, it's 10 minutes away, right? Isn't this amazing that right? It's amazing that it can be done. I mean, I'm just talking to this is not a selfie. I'm not allowed to do that because, I'm supposed to keep my brand, right? But I love people. And I think that if I had a situation that happened to me, really bad one, and I learn from it, right? And I can share, don't go do that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't call God when, you have pain. That's hard to do. That's really hard to do because guess when you call God, right? Now if God showed up just when everything was right? And even when everything was wrong, if Jesus showed up in your life, what would happen, right? First, you go through a tizzy, right? That's not Jesus, right? You're not Jesus. That happened before, it was right. It happened. And his disciples, 4 of them, the people, the apostles, all of them, they were all messed up. They had all kinds of problems, right? And you're the leader of this problematic group of 12, right? It's like your Ocean's 13 is your other 12, and one says they want to walk on water too, right? And then when they start sinking, they ask you for your powers. What did you do? You called the line when you needed help. Right? You didn't ask, make sure I'm empowered and all that. No, you said, all right, I'm good. And you walk out there and he starts self-doubting. And then that's when he calls, Jesus, I need help, right? Okay?
Right.
And the blind person that was healed by Jesus, right? And the leper that was healed by Jesus, where were they when he was being crucified? My skin would be I wouldn't have my skin if it wasn't for you, Christ. Where were you? And why was that recorded? Maybe they were there, but somehow Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John decided, no, that didn't happen, right? Or whatever, they didn't notice it, or something. Somehow the 4 of them did not include any lepers or anybody who's blind standing in front of Pontius Pilate or Caesar and saying, you know what? I owe my life to that guy. So, if you're going to take him, take me too, right? If you're going to take him, take me too. And they didn't do that, or it wasn't written. Whatever happened, right? It was the will of God. That's what we know, right? His will, God's will, was that would happen. And he's only sending his son once, and that happened. Well, when he sends his son the second time, it's not good. He's not doing that again. It says, I heard, right? You heard it. He's not going back on the cross again and then doing this again for you. The show has changed, right? The show is now different. Right? We don't know what time of the night he's going to come, right? but we do know that it's going to be different, right? It's going to be different. So if you know it's going to be
It's gonna
different,
look different.
it's going to be really different, right? Didn't it some people talk about how the dead are going to be raised, right? And then like you might see your grandparents, your great I don't know how it actually is because none of us really know, right? It's all an interpretation, right? I think like when John saw the future and talks about this, he might have seen like he saw dragons. It might have been the internet. He might have been seeing someone playing a video game. Oh gosh, there's a dragon there. It's like fire-breathing dragon from the sky. That was an arcade game, right? So he might have been. We have no idea. We have no idea, but we do know that we control our body. We are the vessel of our own bodies.
Yeah.
And so, in some strange way, we are God of our bodies.
Correct.
And if we are the keeper of this body and we don't talk to ourselves, right? And we don't get them aligned, right? Do your cells go to church? They don't even have church, right? Down there, right? Down there, right? Over here, up here, right?
They're listening to us.
They're listening to us. And what are we saying to them every day? I hate you. I am going to throw 16.6667 minutes, right, after this person, which is 1,000 seconds, right, after that person that cut me. What? You rather spend it on them than to spend it on me? Would you say? Did we actually sing 16.67 minutes tonight on the show? No, we did not. We didn't even do that, I don't think. If we rounded and calculated every single second, we talked about singing, but I was not singing for 16.67 minutes, right? We were not doing it. We wouldn't even do that, but how often does a day go by and we're just thinking and we're thinking, we're going lower and lower in our mental state, our spiritual state, because we get trapped by things that affect us, right? Let it go.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Now I'm not singing "Let It Go" because it's like I didn't get practice for that. But it's like you've got to let it go though. You have to.
What I tell my daughters, you got to vibrate high. The higher
vibrate high. That's nice.
When you have higher vibrations, good vibes only. Like your cells. So I listen to a lot of like Hertz music and cell regeneration music and gamma waves. Yeah, I listen to like a lot of those different things when I sleep. So that's what I have my kids listening to too after they sleep. So that our cells, and we are preparing ourselves because this is a machine that we got to take care of. So.
Yeah, and it's a machine that you can't like get other parts like we do. We just say, oh, you know what? We'll change out the heart. That's not your heart anymore, right? Oh, the other thing about John Hollis is his eyeball fell out.
Excuse me?
John Hollis, his eyeball fell out, right? He got detached because he was like playing around and it got detached and they had to do surgery and put it back in. He's 54, has 20/20 vision, and he doesn't need reading glasses.
Wow. Yeah. If you guys get a chance on YouTube, John Hollis and Dr. Gordon Chiu, Dr. Gordon Chiu channel, please go watch it. It is amazing. Yeah. So far, I have 15 minutes. So.
Right. I haven't posted it publicly yet. I will unleash it. No, I will unleash it. I just want to give about 2 weeks for my Facebook crowd to kind of experience it, right? And then I'll open up to the world because I think it's really important to know that these people exist. Now, one thing is that despite God's powers and gifts that give you, like John's gift, right? John Hollis's gift, you can use up your gift. You can drain down your gift, and then at the end of your life, right? You have no more. You just like your extraordinariness becomes your ordinariness. All right, and I think. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think that if there's any message one should do, take good care of your body, but then start being an example and build community.
So
Build
about
community. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that is 100% the number one thing
Yeah.
that we need
Yeah.
is come together,
Yes.
togetherness.
That's right. That's right.
Before we go, so we have 2 minutes. So how much sleep should we get? What is the best? Like, we didn't really go into it.
Well, that's a great question. That's why I need a host, right, to ask me questions, right? So because I actually am known for that. If you don't ask me questions, I could talk about things and go deep, right,
I know,
into the rabbit hole.
I was just listening.
Such a great question, right? You got entranced into it. It's not about 8 hours. Like if people have eight glasses of water a day, you should drink when you're thirsty. You should sleep when you need it, right? You should take afternoon naps if you need it. Look, if you're jet lagged, right, you're going to need a different amount of sleep than someone who doesn't.
Right.
But generally speaking, right, I'm going to give you, like, generally speaking, it's going to be 8 hours, right? But look, I admit I have slept for 2 days straight before. I've had done that because once upon a time I had to travel a lot. And then the radiation on the plane and all that stuff, all that noise. The world in Asia is different from the world here in the United States. So I would come back here and I would crash. Or when I visited my grandparents when they were still alive, I would sleep on their couch. And boy, would it feel like nothing I've ever felt before. It was so good because it just something about that couch, my grandparents' place, reset me, right? And I could just go to sleep in broad daylight. I would be going to sleep because it felt so good. It was so restorative, and that's what I mean by there is no amount of time. Sometimes a 10-minute nap can recharge you, and other times your body just needs 8 hours to 10 hours. It needs more. Sometimes 6 is good, right? As you get older, the tendency is to sleep less.
Yeah,
right. The tendency is to sleep less. Yeah, that's right. When you sleep, make sure the temperature is good. And make sure, when you wake slowly and not like some alarm clock and shocking you out of bed, right?
I have to ask you something, so really quick before we go. So I was told that sleeping nude is the best way to sleep as well for your body so that you can repair faster. Is that correct?
Yes, especially after you do an Epsom soak. If you do an Epsom soak and then you sleep nude, right? What happens is, and you wrap yourself in goose down feathers and stuff like that. It feels really good, and you let your body just completely, all the toxins come out, right? And you really sleep. Make sure you have a towel there, right? So that you soak up this stuff, and then that is very restorative, very, very good. And you should put lavender, like fresh lavender, not some spray you buy and it's extracted, but buy some fresh lavenders, and there's just different types. Some people are good for one type and another type, and let your body equilibrate to which type, and then you'll understand which type is better. Chamomile is also very good, and also drinking maca. If you drink maca, which is a Peruvian maca is very restorative for sleep. And then I mentioned GABA, GABA, which is like an inhibitory. All right, and then 3 types of magnesium, C, O, and G. Citrate, magnesium oxide, and also magnesium glycinate. If you mix them in the ratio of 1 to 1 to 1, if it's 6 milligrams, it would be 2 to 2 to 2 milligrams each. That gives your body the choice to select from things. Since you never heard of that before, right? No, that's really interesting. Yeah.
I drink valerian root.
Valerian root is very good. Do not take melatonin, right?
No.
Because melatonin, your body makes melatonin. But what you can do, right, is you can take tyrosine, right? You can take that stuff that are precursors that are resources for making the melatonin. You could do that. Melanin and melatonin is very interrelated. You could take those resources from earlier. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to take melatonin directly, and you want to definitely take valerian root is very good. And when you take these roots, right, you should make sure that you're taking it in the presence of the 3 types of magnesium.
Okay, so the 3 types of magnesium. So when you talk about the 3 types of magnesium, can we buy those? You can't just go buy those separately. I mean, what do we have to find the type of what we can intake? Take for them that gives us that.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy them all individually, right? You can all do them individually.
Okay, so
right,
okay.
And then you don't have to. It's not to replace your body's magnesium. It's to when you're taking this like 2 milligrams and 2 milligrams. Just the presence of it can oftentimes tell the body, hey,
Okay.
you know, be careful. You know, I need you.
Nice.
I need you to be with me 100%. Yeah.
Okay, great.
All
Thank you
right.
so much,
Great.
Dr. Chu. Next week,
Thank
next
you.
Thursday, we're going to be back and we're going to have Mr. Chester Whitmore.
Okay. Very nice.
Is a world-renowned choreographer, Michael Jackson, who worked with people. I think he did something or started with Beyonce or something like that. I think he started.
Very nice.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm going to be talking about the struggles and the pains that's in the Black community.
Well, I'm doing this to give to the Black community, and I think that's
We
just
appreciate it.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's something that you guys deserve. I mean, why can't everybody have good health, right? Why should it cost you, a lot of money to talk to somebody, right? So I'm doing this, although it's not a direct thing. Maybe one day it grows into what in Asia people get to come on and ask questions, right? They ask questions, and that allows like we spend 15 minutes where I just answer a different person's questions.
Yeah, we would love for our audience once we start building our audience up.
Yeah, right.
Just keep working.
Well, we got to make sure it's worth their while. Like when they come in here and listen, right? They've got to feel like they are.
We'll welcome in a whole lot of like a 10-minute question and answer. That'd be neat.
Do we need to end this? It still says live counting.
Yep, I'm about to go now.
Oh, okay. All right. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye-bye.